Hello, Lux On Demand family. My name is Greg, and I am so excited to welcome you here on YouTube. Typically, we do our services live every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. EST at twitch.tv/Lux Digital Church. We get to chat with you live and talk with you live every week there. But we are also honored that you have joined us here on demand on YouTube. We have a lot of awesome resources and videos that you can check out here on our channel. But right now, I just want to introduce you to the talk that we have and say that I really hope that you enjoy. Thank you for joining us. We love you guys.
Lux family, hey, I am Chino Mage all the way down here in Tampa, Florida. And if you didn't see, Mark, I'm going to preempt this or co-op this real quick. Our oldest is actually moving home from college tonight, and he tested positive for strep and for the flu and all sorts of stuff. So if you guys could be praying for him as well, that would be completely amazing. He has a 2-hour drive home from Orlando, and that super stinks. But welcome to church tonight. If this is your first time here with us, we're honestly honored that you decided to spend a small portion of your week here with us at Lux, either live or on demand. You could be doing so many other things with your time, and we just want to make this worth it for you. We actually want to invite you to join the Lux family on our Discord server, discord.gg/Lux Digital Church, or there's going to be a link that pops up in the chat. Oh, Josh and Nav. Hello, guys. Josh Hanback, love you too, buddy. Listen, if you're joining us later in via VOD, YouTube, or podcast, and as part of our on-demand family, we are so thankful for you as well. We know there's a family out there that is just kind of joining us all kind of on the fringes there, but we also would love for you to come hang out with us in our Discord. We've got this active, sort of vibrant community of people from literally all over the world. And that Discord's the place that we really call our home. It's where church actually happens. Church is not a spectator sport. It's about being active, about participating, about living with other people in community that truly cares about you and truly loves you. And that's what Lux is really, really all about. You get the chance to experience what it's like to be part of that family in that Discord server. So we'd love to see you in there, discord.gg/Lux Digital Church, or just look in the doodly doos or wherever you're at for more information. Right now, we're going to we're actually in a series of talks right now that we've been in for the last couple of weeks in the book of James, and we're calling it Ancient Wisdom for Modern Minds. And we've been looking at problems that seem to run into today's world through the lens of a book that was written, 2,000 years ago by this guy, James, who was actually Jesus's half brother. So it's a weird, fun family thing there. And we've actually been seeing that the problems that we're facing today in our lives, in our culture, in our world, like here and now, they're really just the same problems as they had from all those years ago. I mean, they look different, or they seem more intense or more widespread, but there's actually some solutions and ways to deal with our today problems that are found in the yesterday words of the Bible that are active and alive that we're examining today. So we're going to actually be jumping into one of those things today, because we've been kind of going with this modern mantra here of our modern problems have ancient solutions. Our modern problems have ancient solutions. And tonight is going to be a tough one to talk about in this culture of instant, of immediacy, of we want it here and we want it now. It's actually it's one that I have an extremely hard time dealing with too. We're talking about patience, and we're actually calling tonight embracing the suck. How to embrace the suck, because waiting, it's the worst. I mean, it sucks. I hate it. And I have a tough time dealing with it. And we'll get to that in a minute. But I would love to know from you in the chat right now, what are the things that you hate to wait for? What are those things that really just sort of super annoy you? The things that you have to wait for that you just wish would happen immediately? Throw those in the chat. I want to get to those in a minute. And I'll tell a quick story. As for me, Star Fox, thanks for the thunderstorm thing, buddy. For me, I'm extremely impatient. I've noticed as I've gotten older that waiting in a queue for a Halo multiplayer match is one of the worst things in the world. My son and I played last night on stream, and there was a 15-second respawn timer, and I actually found myself reaching for my phone because I needed to check something. It was like, wait a minute, what am I doing here? Like I couldn't even wait those 15 seconds for that respawn. Or I've got another computer monitor over here. And so I was looking over there to check Discord and check Twitter. And about halfway through the stream, I was like, wait a minute, this is me. This is exactly the message that I've been preparing for James 5. And then this morning on the way to work, so I work at a church as well, it's only really like 10 minutes from here, but about 5 minutes away from the church, there was a slowdown. And I see a lot of people popping off in the chat right now about traffic. And I think traffic is literally invented by Satan himself. I'm kidding. It's not literally, but I think it's meant to cause millions of people like me torture and agony. I lived near New York City for 3 years. I lived in Atlanta for 7 years. And now I'm in the Tampa area. And it seems like traffic gets worse and worse and worse every single year. And today in that sort of grind, I was 5 minutes away from my church and I was just going, oh my gosh, and I'm gripping the steering wheel. And then I had this moment of, I am the perfect example for what I'm talking about tonight, because I am an impatient person. My wife, who's on stream right now, will probably pop into the chat and just give me an amen. Waiting for things to happen actually creates a sense of suffering in me, like deep in my soul. I'm not kidding. And I know it does for a lot of you too. And I'm watching all of these things pop into the chat. Calios says direction or healing. Yeah. Jen says, I want answers to all of my questions quickly. Star Fox lines, stuff that I order, traffic to Shafe, the League of Legends queue. I can hallelujah to that one. Over 7 minutes. See, that's maybe just stop playing League of Legends. We can have that talk another time. I can bring you into another game, maybe Pokemon. We can talk later. Waiting for test results, says Bougie. Blocker J to reach my ministry support goal. Yeah. Mika, Hulu with ads. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Keep throwing those in the chat. I want to keep reading those, because all of us, we all have that experience where we want things to be better, to not have to wait for them. We want it now, like right now, today, not tomorrow, but years and years from now. My pastor right now, he actually said, waiting for the Steam Deck email. Shut up, Beggy Man. Mine's on the way. My pastor right now actually says that we live in a microwave culture with a crockpot God. Microwave, quick, instant. Everything happens within a minute or two. Crockpot, 4 to 8 hours. You'll get a delicious meal. It's going to be awesome and healthy and all that. But you have to wait for so long. And it's funny, we come to a passage like James 5, verses 7 through 11, which is where we're going to be today. And James actually says this to everybody. He says, be patient then, brothers and sisters, until the Lord's coming. See how the farmer waits for the land to yield its valuable crops, patiently waiting for the autumn and spring rains. You too, be patient and stand firm, because the Lord's coming is near. Don't grumble against one another, brothers and sisters, or you will be judged. The judge is standing at the door. Brothers and sisters, as an example of patience in the face of suffering, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. As you know, we count as blessed those who have persevered. You heard of Job's perseverance and have seen what the Lord finally brought about. The Lord is full of compassion and mercy. See, the first thing he says, I just hit my ring on the table there. The first thing he says is, be patient then. And that's like the worst thing that you'd want to hear in our always on instant power, instant gratification, high speed internet, gigabit Ethernet world. I don't want to be told to be patient. We want things to happen quickly, and yet we get told to be patient because God is working things, whatever that means. We get told to not be in a hurry and to let God do his thing and work behind the scenes. Again, whatever that means. And honestly, all of that sucks. It's frustrating, and it wears us out, and it makes us angry, and it makes us tired, and it makes us depressed. There's an old adage that says, kind of this old proverb thing that says, don't pray to God for patience because he'll give you kids. And it's true, because kids, many of you out there have kids, and if you don't, trust me when I say kids test your patience like nothing else. But the interesting thing is that the more you practice patience, the more it grows. So when that kid's a little baby, it's cute, and then it starts to cry, and you go, oh my gosh, and then your patience just grows little by little by little. It's like a muscle. The more you work it out, the more it grows. And so tonight, we're all just going to kind of set a level playing field here. We're going to acknowledge the fact that patience does grow, but we're going to look at something a bit more practical in nature that's going to help us identify when we need to exercise our patience muscles. We're going to actually look at the when. When should we be patient? When should we just embrace the suck? When should we embrace the waiting? When should we start asking God to help us level up in our patience? And I want to look at 3 key areas that are found in this passage. And I want to help you identify which of those you might be in right now or maybe in the future, because by identifying the when, you can then more easily look at how to actually put some of this into practice and how to grow your patience so that you can be a little bit better of a person in our culture, and how you can be more Christ-like in our world, which, oh my goodness, needs him so desperately right now. So first, when to embrace the suck? Well, we embrace the suck when circumstances are uncontrollable. We embrace the suck when circumstances are uncontrollable. Essentially, be patient when things are out of control in your life, which, of course, I'm no idiot, it's easier said than done. Think about all of those things that you just put in the chat. Can you control a lot of that? The Lyft put in there waiting for people to pump gas. Can you control that? No, unless you want to be a jerk and just go up and hit their car. No. Can you control a League of Legends queue? No. Most of the time, it's our own frustration because of sort of this byproduct of being unhappy and dissatisfied. And to help us with this, James actually uses a farming example, a farming metaphor, when he sees things uncontrollable. And he says this in verse 7 of chapter 5. See how the farmer waits for the land to yield its valuable crops, patiently waiting for the autumn and spring rains. Farming in real life is different than in something like Stardew Valley, where I can just kind of take my cauliflower seed and plant and water it for 12 days and then harvest it. I mean, if you're like me in Stardew, you just install Cheat Engine and then not have to worry about planting times anymore, but that's neither here nor there. Can I get some 5s in chat for Cheat Engine, please? Biddy Beth, waiting for texts and waiting for phone calls. Absolutely. Real farmers, by nature, have to have patience, a lot of it. It's basically just a job of a lot of waiting. Even if you're busy doing other things, you're also waiting for a certain time to plant, waiting for the crop to grow, waiting for God to bring rain, waiting for the right time to harvest. Farmers have no control over weather or rain or heat or even something like the economy. And James, in verse 7, is telling us to be just like that, patient in circumstances that are beyond our control. Listen, when your health starts to fail, you have to wait for it to get better. When your bills mount up and debt starts piling up, it's a slow grind to get out of it. A lot of time you need to wait for the right person to marry or partner up with in life. You have to wait to get the right job and wait for the right opportunity to come your way. You have to wait for funding to come through. You have to wait for all of these things. Now, does that mean you just sit on your hands and be lazy and just kind of wait around because, you know, that's what the weird guy on Twitch said that the Bible wants me to do? No, absolutely not. Because the farmer example, look at that. The farmer isn't just sitting around either. Just like, all right, I planted seeds. I'm going to go watch, I'm going to go stream or binge another Netflix show again. No, the farmer is fertilizing and trimming and plowing and tending. And most importantly, he's learning. He or she is taking time to grow. They're embracing this time that they have. So right now, if your circumstances seem uncontrollable, are there things maybe you can do right now to speed up the process of waiting? Are there skills that you can, level up in life? Sure, absolutely. There's always more that you can be doing, but that doesn't always guarantee that things are going to start working quicker. It just means that we get the chance to exercise that patience muscle and learn to wait patiently. And by doing so, we avoid stress and frustration. We learn to actually enjoy life. All right, so easier said than done. I noticed some stuff popping off in the chat. I'll get to that in a second. Easier said than done, right? Circumstances are one thing because they just happen. But what about when you come up against something with thoughts, like an actual person? Because number two, we need to embrace the suck when people are unchangeable. And trust me, people seem to be unchangeable quite a lot. You know, there was some people popping into the chat that they were talking about, you know, waiting for this person to do this and waiting for this person to do that. And eventually in life, we're going to run up against people that are going to oppose us or mistreat us or say things that aren't true or just plain annoy us. They seem unchangeable, unteachable, and just plain unlovable. But to follow Jesus is to be patient with those people, to not turn around and flame them when they spout absolute nonsense in a chat or a social post somewhere. James actually talks about this in verse 10 of chapter 5. He says, brothers and sisters, as an example of patience in the face of suffering, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. Now, you want to talk about people that really had to wait for things? Let's rap about the prophets real quick, because all throughout the Bible, the prophet is actually an important character. Prophets, if you don't know, they're, you know, we hear prophet and we just think of this holy oracle standing on top of the mountain and delivering all of these things. And while there was like this little bit of that, it was actually a lot different. The prophet was designated to receive direction, guidance, vision, and wisdom from God, either through prayers or dreams or writing or, you know, burning bushes sometimes. And then after they got those things, they would deliver that back to the people to help them change. Their job was to try to help bring people back to God. And they were looked on as speaking in the name of the Lord, like James is saying there, which is essentially just saying God's words, translating God's words to those people. But if you read about even 5 pages of the Old Testament of the Bible, you could see a prophet speaking the words of the Lord, doing what he's supposed to be doing, and then people just absolutely rejecting them, being hard-hearted and stiff-necked is what the Bible calls them. And then when they do that, ridicule and mockery and sometimes even death follow for the prophet. People usually don't get, you know, they don't take kindly to getting told that they're doing things wrong. And prophets would do this for years and years before they saw any change at all, if they ever even did. And it's kind of like training a dog, and not in the way that you're thinking. It's not as extreme. We have 2 puppies. We have Luna, who's 9-ish years old, and then we have Maggie, who's just over a year. Now, Luna, we rescued her when she was 2 from the Humane Society. She was already housebroken and knew kind of simple sit, stay commands. She's wicked smart. She's this kind of Jack Russell Terrier mix. She's like 20 pounds. And she, honestly, from day one, I have pictures when we brought her home. She's 2. She's already full grown, and she's just loving being part of the family. We barely had to do any training with her, and boom, it was all good. She knew where to go to the bathroom and all of those things. So contrast that with Maggie. Now, we got Maggie last May, so a year and 3 months ago. When we got her, she was 10 weeks old, and she was just this little labradoodle puppy. She's adorable, and now she's like a big dog, tearing around the house at 50 pounds and all that. But her training was totally different, because Maggie is also wicked smart, but she's precocious, and she loves to get into trouble and chew on things. And so we kind of got an obedience teacher, and part of our obedience lessons with her were to make sure that we were being, as humans, as the adults and as the parents, we were being steady and patient, and we were always telling her the same words so that they meant the same things. And then, of course, you know, she'd poop on the floor, or she'd chew up part of the rug. And it was our job as adults to understand that this was part of the process, and we weren't supposed to get angry at her. My wife popping into the chat saying, and then you have Maggie that got the new claws off the table and ate the receipt. Yep, that's Maggie. Love you. But part of the training process is to not get angry at the dog. Cool. But trying to make sure that you don't get angry at a dog who literally kept doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again requires a level of patience that really parents and other people that have exercised that patience muscle really understand. And as I've told you a billion times already, I'm not a patient guy. And so there were a couple of times that I just had to walk away before I just exploded into like liquid hot magma all over the floor because she decided that, peeing on the carpet literally right after I had brought her in from going outside was the best thing that she could do. And James is actually telling us to be patient just like this, to keep a level head. Obviously, it's different with dogs because, with Maggie, we could eventually give her treats and praise, and now she's decently well-trained, sometimes, most of the time. But humans can just be plain jerks, right? And in your head right now, you're thinking, yeah, I've got 3 or 4 jerks in my head that I can think about. I don't want your dog, Mark. You keep her. She's awesome. Humans can be jerks, but listen, James is saying, look, there's going to be people that don't believe you or don't like you in your life. And it's going to suck. But you can't be angry with them. You need to hold firm to your convictions, and you need to understand that Jesus is who he says he is, and you believe in who he says he is, and Jesus is the Son of God, crucified, died, buried, risen again to serve as a sacrifice in our place so that we may be made right with God, forgiven forever. That is our job. Embrace it. It's going to suck. Embrace it. Look, if you feel devalued, if you feel unappreciated, if you feel unaccepted right now in your life, if you're getting absolutely just worked by people around you for your beliefs or for what you're trying to do in this life, be patient. Trust me, I've had to be patient and it has sucked. If you want biblical examples, go look at guys like Moses and Elijah and Nehemiah and Jeremiah and Noah and all of those prophets from the Old Testament. Just type their names into Google and read their story. Those people were far from perfect, just like you and me, but they are perfect examples of how to wait patiently when people don't seem like they're changing. Okay, so we've got our first 2 items that we're kind of working with right now. JT, Moses popped off a couple of times. Absolutely. We've got our first 2 items here. Embracing the suck when circumstances are uncontrollable, and embracing the suck when people are unchangeable. We've kind of got some things that we can do around there. Try to be patient, try to love people, try to represent Jesus, and try to level up our skills a little bit. And that's palatable to a degree. We can kind of get around those. But what happens when it all starts to hit the fan? When things are happening that we literally can't make sense of? We need to embrace the suck when problems are unexplainable. And this is our third one for tonight. Embrace the suck when problems are unexplainable. And this is by far the toughest one. Because how many times in your life have things come up that might be more than just uncontrollable or unchangeable, when it seems like things are happening around you that don't make sense at all, when it's raining and then when it's pouring all at the same time, when things just keep on happening that seem to be out of the realm of your explanation as to why? This is the tough one. And as a pastor, I meet with a lot of people. Sometimes it's for good reasons. Marriages or babies being born or small group studies. That's the good stuff. But that's like a minority of the time, because a majority of the time it's for bad things that are happening to people that just seem random. And then more stuff piles on. And then it seems like the ceiling is going to cave in around them. Have you been there? Are you there now? You can let us know if you're there now or if you have been there. We would love to pray for you either now or in Discord later, because it's honestly the worst feeling in the world. It's unexplainable. And then you just think that God has just forgotten about you. In verse 11, James writes us to counsel this. He says, as you know, we count as blessed those who have persevered. You have heard of Job's perseverance, and you have seen what the Lord finally brought about. The Lord is full of compassion and mercy. So before we go any further, and we're kind of wrapping up tonight, Let's talk about Job real quick. It's not the guy from Arrested Development. This is actually the quintessential story of patience and suffering in the Bible. And some scholars, I don't know necessarily if I believe them, I can kind of see both sides. Some scholars actually believe that it's the oldest book of the Bible. It's the first book ever written. It's a story that universalizes suffering and strife, and it shows at the same time how God is ultimate all over it. Tybo, we would love to pray for you. Let us know how we can help you, how we can be praying for you. A God-fearing man named Job, one day, if you don't know the story, I'll go through it real quick, has all of this wealth. He's got a large family, he's got a wife, he's got servants, he's got livestock, he's got everything that you could have in his day and age. And one day, Satan rolls up to God, the enemy, the devil, rolls up to God into God's throne room and says, look, you see Job over there, your wonderful servant? The only reason he worships you, God, is because of all of his good fortune. Here, let me take it away, and I'll show you that he's going to curse you and turn his back on you, and I'll prove you wrong. And God, in all of his godly wisdom, allows it to happen. And Satan takes all of Job's money, takes his livestock, he kills his servants, and then he literally drops a house on his kids and kills them. And Job is devastated. He doesn't know anything about that Satan-God conversation, but all of a sudden he's covered with sores and boils, and he ends up sitting in heaps of ashes on dung hills, which is poop. He's sitting in poop full of misery and agony, and he has lost everything. His own wife looks at him and tells him to turn his back on God and just commit suicide, just kill himself. His friends accuse him of some like weird or unknown or hidden sin that brought all this upon him. And Job is going, no, dude, I'm innocent. What? I don't understand any of this. But the worst part about the whole book, bougie, I'm still convinced God didn't love Job. Woof. Let's get into theological debate after this one. The worst part about all of this is that it's unexplainable to Job's eyes. And then for 37 chapters in the book of Job, God doesn't even talk to Job and tell him why this is all happening. Job does not have a clue. There was no apparent reason for his misfortune. And Job, of all people at that time, has the right to say, why me? A lot happens in our lives. Maybe not houses dropping on us, hopefully. But a lot happens in our life, both good and bad. And I think sometimes we focus too much on the bad stuff. We focus too much on that and we miss the little bits of good. Yes, the bad does not make sense and it's overwhelming and it seems like it's going to crush us. And I'm right there with you because I get crushed in my own depression and in my own anxieties. They take over me when something even remotely bad and that happens. And then when something else stacks on top and something else stacks on top, I don't know how to make sense of it. And then I often have to say, maybe I'm never going to understand what I'm going through on this side of heaven. And maybe you have to say the same because it sucks. Some things are never going to be answered, and that's okay to say. We have to be with okay with saying that sometimes things are never going to be answered. But just like everything else in grace and mercy and peace that comes from Jesus, in all of the unexplained problems that Job went through, he maintained his faith and he waited on God. That's the example James is talking about. Sometimes in those pastor conversations, I'm asked, why do you think God allowed this to happen? Why hasn't God done something about this? And a lot of the time, I'm going to be honest, my answer is, I don't know. Sometimes it's a hidden sin and it's a weird thing happening, but most of the time, I don't know. My own mom died from breast cancer at the age of 60. She loved Jesus, and yet God took her. Why? Sometimes you just wake up and you just feel depressed. Why? Sometimes your addictions just flare up more than usual, or your body hurts, or your mind just can't seem to catch up to what's going on. Most of the time, we just ask, why? It's unexplainable. But this is where patience and faith and God come in. Because even in all of the unexplained, frustrating things in our lives right now, we have to learn to be patient. We have to trust that God is working. I said this earlier. about church not being a spectator sport. And I maintain the same thing for patience. It's just like exercising. It's not a spectator sport. It's full of action words like trust or watch or listen. Those are action words. Those are verbs. Because when we're confronted with circumstances that are uncontrollable, or when we have people that are unchangeable, or when our problems are unexplainable, most of the time, the only thing we can do is be patient. And I'm sorry that that's the answer. You have to be patient. But there are ways that we can help with that. My question to you right now is, do you recognize any of those things in your life right now? Circumstances uncontrollable, people unchangeable, or problems that are unexplainable? Maybe you've got all three of those things happening in your life. I don't know. Tonight, God is telling you to be patient, to embrace the bad in your life right now, because good is coming from it. Embrace it. God is working his way into your heart right now. God is also calling us not to just sit on our hands and cry, woe is me, the sky is falling. And there is, God is also a God of action. God is actually calling us to be faithful to what he wants us to do, what he wants you to do. He's calling you to be faithful and fruitful, to work while you're waiting, to grow while you're awaiting. What does that look like for you today? What does that look like for you this week or this month? Each week, we like to step out of service with a kind of an action step. And our action step for this week is this. This week, I will keep going. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense when we're talking about patience, does it? This week, I will keep going. That's not saying I'm going to keep going towards my addictions or towards my struggles or towards my shame. No, this week, I will keep going toward the path of God, toward the path of his will, towards love and grace. I will keep going away from the shame spiral that happens when I fall off the wagon. I will go towards the cross of Jesus Christ and what that means for me. I will keep going in my everyday life as I seek to carve out a little bit more time with God. I will keep going as I build community with Lux in our Discord. I will keep going to grow my patience. I will keep loving. I will keep serving. Listen, we have an entire church of people here that are ready to embrace the suck with you, to pray for you, to challenge you when it seems like you're turning away, to walk in life towards Jesus alongside of you. That's what this church is. So this week, keep going. Keep embracing the bad that's happening all around you. Tell yourself that through this, through my patience and my trust that God is working in my life, I will be able to keep going. Embracing the suck doesn't mean we just roll over and let it happen. We keep going towards community, towards church, and towards Jesus. If any of this is kind of ringing any bells for you, or if something is stirring inside of you right now, I'd love to know about it. We actually have a prayer team in that Discord channel, along with a prayer request channel. And we'd love to really hear how we can be praying for you, and then how we can be helping you as you keep going, as you keep waiting in this really weird, oxymoronic, ironic thing. You're going to keep going in your patience, right? Kind of weird. Or if you've never even said hello, pop into the welcome channel and let us know who you are. Tonight, part of the way we can keep going, don't knock my essential oils there. I'm going to get to listen, we'll get to the diffuser. How about we do that, Mark? Let's get to the diffuser on the couch. We'll go from there. Part of the way we can keep going towards Jesus is actually through celebrating the Lord's Supper, communion together. And Pastor Mark is going to lead us there in just a quick moment. But I want to encourage you, keep going with us. Let's take communion together.
On Demand family, I really hope you guys enjoyed that talk. Thank you so much for joining us here on YouTube. I know sometimes it's difficult for you guys to join us live on Wednesday evenings, and that's why we do the content on demand here on YouTube. That way you guys can watch it whenever it works for you. But if you ever have the opportunity to join us live, we would love for you to do that. We're live every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. EST at twitch.tv/Lux Digital Church. One thing that you miss out on by joining us here on demand is the opening time of banter and then the closing segments of Ask Me Anything that we do right here on the couch live, where we get to talk to you. We always laugh. We have a ton of fun. We get to chat and just hang out live, which is a very unique experience. And we would love for you to join us with that. We would also like for you to join our Discord over at discord.gg/Lux Digital Church. That's really the home of our church. That's where we do life together day in, day out. We get to play games. We get to hang out. We get to chat. And that's where we grow together as a church family. So join us there. If you enjoy what we're doing here on YouTube and what we're doing with Lux as a whole, you can financially support us over at luxdigitalchurch.com. There's an opportunity to support us there. But nonetheless, we love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will talk to you very, very soon.